Okay, so I promised that we would talk about the second week of the pilgrimage today, and I realized that there's so much diversity in the second week that it's not going to be something we can just cover in one go, because what we really want to discuss is the Dhamma in it. And so I'll give an overview of what we did, and then I think we'll put a focus on one area. So what we did when we the first week we stayed at Ajahn Ganha's monastery, Wat Sabtui, in this beautiful part of Thailand, sort of a couple hours, 3 hours east of Bangkok. It's a mountainous area. It's got they say the seventh best air quality in the world, something like that. And it's right on the edge, I mean, really on the border of this huge national park, which is jungle with wild elephants and this kind of rare species of bovine, some kind of steer, or they call them bulls, but of course they're not all male. Um, and that Ajahn Ganha has actually done a lot to support that group of animals to come back and be able to strengthen their herd. So we saw some of those, and one person who's online today was walking. We took this walk in the jungle, and they heard the running of these very large animals, and it was pretty scary just even hearing it, and then realizing that the running animals were going in a direction away from them was quite a relief. But there was a lot of wonderful Dhamma, and it really had a transformative effect on us, I would say. And so after that first week of getting really grounded, which was our intention, that you go and actually stay in the monastery for a while so that you get a real experience of what it's like to be there, and to really let the Dhamma soak in from a master teacher. And it was so delightful to see the group. There are 26 of us in all. The group really take on the teaching of this generosity and kindness, and really continuous practice, taking joy in and happiness in your very breathing, and also the work that you're doing at the time, and all these kinds of things. And then we set out from there on a much less kind of stable, peaceful kind of period for the second week of visiting 4 more master teachers and staying in hotels, which is a very different kind of experience. The first place we went to was in Chonburi, which is closer to the coast of the Gulf of Thailand. And we traveled from there for one day to see Ajahn Anan, who's down in Rayong. And we had the chance to spend some time at his monastery, and a very nice meeting with him where people got to ask quite a few questions. And we also had an excellent, one of the monks there. They have, I think I heard, like about 20 Western monks there, which is very unusual. I mean, there are a few monasteries who really attract a lot of Westerners. And Ajahn Chah, of course, is known for having been a master at teaching people, even though they had no common language with him. And but Ajahn Anan also has, I think, taken a real interest in teaching Westerners. And according to one person who's been in Thailand for a long time, they know that Ajahn Anan has said that he felt like he misunderstood Westerners quite a while. And so clearly he's made an effort to try to understand how our different cultures, are different and relate, in a way that can reach people who have a very different kind of background. And so there was a monk there who translated and did a very excellent job. This young man who was educated at Cornell University and had become a monk. And you could tell he was doing a really superb job of translation. And that's really helpful to have someone who lives with a certain teacher, because each teacher will have the themes or the way of talking about Dhamma that is probably kind of particular to them. And then if someone lives with them, they hear that all the time. They know how to translate in a way that's more precise, which is very helpful. Oh, and I guess I should have included that actually before we went to see Ajahn Anan, on our way from Ajahn Ganha's monastery to the place where we were going to be staying in Chonburi, we stopped to see a highly developed monk. I mean, these monks have the reputation of being arahants, and so you pay attention to what they're saying. And this particular Ajahn, his name is Sopa, Ajahn Sopa. He lives at a monastery that Chitananda and I had visited once before, just to see the amazing jetty that they have there. It's a huge, beautiful, I don't know if everybody knows what a jetty is. It's like
it's like a stupa shaped
stupa.
building. Yeah.
It's like a stupa, but this one was huge. You go inside and the stairs winds around, and it has many displays of various Kruba Ajahn. Kruba Ajahn is the way the Thais talk about these great master teachers, and they had displays of different ones and some of their possessions, a little bit museum-like, but it's grand and glorious. So we had stopped by there once before and seen the jetty, but or the stupa, but we had never known the Ajahn there, and so we got a chance to meet with him. We didn't have the benefit of an expert translator, but our folks who know Thai did the best they could, and there were a couple of monks who lived there who also helped out. There were times though when everybody looked at each other and went, "What?" It was like really challenging. So fortunately we recorded that, and Martin, who did a really heroic job of translating to our drivers. And I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but Martin's married to Pim, who's Thai, and he's been studying Thai somewhat during this time of being in relationship with her. But he said he never knew that he could speak Thai until he went on this trip. And he was willing to kind of step up and get us through various situations by speaking Thai, and so everyone tried to kind of piece this together. But then Martin took the recording and took some time to really translate it, and Pim helped out too, and even Pim was stumped sometimes with the way the Ajahn used language. But I think the general gist was apparent while we were there. First of all, there's a lot in the feeling that you kind of pick up being in these monasteries and being with teachers like this. And what we absorbed was certainly an austerity and a kind of a forest master strength, you might say, but also incredible kindness. And he was frustrated, or I don't know, frustrated might not be the right word, but he mentioned like it's really a shame that we can't understand each other because the Dhamma is so precious, and like he really wanted us to understand, and different people asked questions, and then we got to a point where he's like, you really need to just go practice, because then you'll really get it. Without that, the questions just never come to an end. But he was so generous in sharing with us. And one of the themes in that particular session was about self and not self. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, because I think that we should probably dedicate a whole session to that topic, and kind of the different aspects of how to absorb that truth of not self. And one of the things he said, that one of the questions was, is it possible that you might have a healthy sense of self, and that this is a good thing? He said any amount of self is bad. It's like any kind. So, but now at some later date I'll put that in context, because in the West I think we think of this a little bit differently, even though we have to come to the same conclusion that we're really working with cause and effect, not with self and non-self. There's the point, and I think this is also what Ajahn Sopa said. There's a point where the master teachers, when they talk about self, they're just talking in a way so people can understand, but actually they've gone beyond self and not self. It's not a thing. It's not a thing, as Anne was pointing out earlier. So we think it's a thing, but it's not a thing. So there was some really great goodwill, and he said, come back in a year and you can report to me how it's going. And ask more questions. And this monastery was huge. We had no idea, but like over 300 monks and over 100 nuns staying there. And these are Meishis, of course, not bhikkhunis, but it's quite a big spread. And so we hope to visit there again, and I maybe try to find, we'll encourage Martin to really improve. Figure out how to bring a translator. Yeah. He did a great job. Anyway, and so then from there, the next day, I believe, or something like that, we went to Ajahn Anan. And again, without going into too much detail, we were able to ask quite a lot of questions of him about various topics, and again, this incredible patience and generosity in sharing with us. And then we also had time to practice there. We spent a large chunk of time, and there are three different buildings, two different main buildings, and then a Kuan Yin hall, which I actually was at Ajahn Anand's for the dedication of that hall years ago. I stayed there a few times, and Chitananda reminded me, or we had talked about it a little bit before, that my mother and I donated 2 kutis at that monastery years ago. And it's just, whenever there's that kind of opportunity to make an offering, and Ajahn Anand gave us a statue that's a replica of the one in the main hall. The statue in the main hall has these is it 9 or 7 naga heads coming out, like the big snakes. And so I have a statue like that. I'm actually planning, I'm just now moving into the new Elders Kuti, and my plan for my shrine there is to use that statue partly as a connection to Ajahn Anan, and a kind of reminder of the Dhamma and all of the benefit that I've gained from knowing him. And many years ago, when I was still a lay, this was most when I was a lay person, but I had visited him when I was looking for a monastery for training. And I asked him if he, basically without saying it directly, can you use your psychic powers to see if I should train in England or if I should train in Australia? Because those were the two options that were available in our tradition. And he came back and he said, well, if you go to England, it's going to be difficult. If you go to Australia, it's going to be difficult. And if you don't ordain, it's going to be difficult. And some of you have heard me say this before, and it's like, and then when we were there this time, he asked me how many years I've been in robes, and I told him it's 18 and 11 years as a bhikkhuni, and he said, you're very determined. So that was nice. It was kind of sweet. That connection over time. And so this is what we're hoping for the members of the KBV community, those of you who have an interest in making connections with the teachers in Thailand, to be able to visit there and see if there's a resonance with any of these master teachers, and maybe take the opportunity to go back and visit. So this year, so if many of you know that our first kind of I think it was alpha or beta trip, the very first one, we brought 6 lay people with us, so it was 8 of us, and we spent a week at Ajahn Ganha's the way we did this time, and visited one other teacher, just Ajahn Biak?
Ajahn Dan, Ajahn Biak,
No, just with our group.
Oh, with the big group. Oh.
It was just Ajahn Biak, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, 2 of the people who were on that trip came again this time. And one of them, Kalen, went back to Ajahn Ganha's, and he's still there now. And so this idea that, you can go yourself once you get the information and the experience of doing it. And there are accommodations at all these monasteries for lay people to visit as well as monastics. And from visiting Ajahn Anan, we actually went to Ajahn Jandi's monastery, even though he wasn't there. And that turned out to be like, oh, well, it wasn't as I'm really looking forward to a time when we can visit when Ajahn Jandi's there. He was away for a Katina visit somewhere else, and apparently most of the monastics went with him. So it was like coming to this beautiful, still monastery. We practiced in their main hall, but no Ajahn, no monks, really. So it was interesting. But then we visited Ajahn Suchart, and our friend Tan Alex, who used to be an active member in KBV's community, went there to become a monk. And we're always delighted when we have the opportunity to help anyone ordain, whether it's just the support, to the encouragement to go that direction, or in the case of bhikkhunis, we can actually participate in their ordination. But it was really good to see him, and we he was kind of our tour guide there. Ajahn Suchart's monastery was built by the King of Thailand, and it's kind of a royal royal monastery in a way, but the monks live very austerely. We were taken to the living area of the monks, and we saw the kutis. The kuti that we were shown, it doesn't even have walls, it just has curtains to shield you from the rain and the weather, with a thatch roof, and it's on stilts on a wooden platform. And the Dhamma hall meeting place was just a larger wooden platform with a roof and bench for the monks to sit on. And Ajahn Mahabua used to come to visit there and give talks there to the monastics and sleep there overnight in the Dhamma hall. Is very, very rustic, very, very rustic. And yeah, they have all of this kind of like beautiful stuff. There's a museum that we saw, and there's this etching of the Buddha on this huge mountain right there in that area. And all these things are because of this royal patronage. And then you get down to like the life of the forest monk. It's just extremely austere. Someone asked Ton Alex, he sleeps on, I don't know, using a rush mat maybe on the floor of this platform, which is the way my son also lived when he was in Thailand as a monk. And they say, can you sleep? He said, if you're tired enough, you'll sleep anywhere. So you can do it. So it was very inspiring and lovely. And Ajahn Suchart lived in the U.S. and was educated and had a job here, and he speaks perfect English, so he spoke to us in English, and we could ask him questions. And actually, some of the answers to our questions are now on their Facebook page. So we've gotten some links and also the video showing our group being there, and it was kind of sweet to see that. The questions that are posted, I think, are about death. And what's the other one? Anybody remember? There's another one. Anyway, there's
Vimo remembers.
Impermanence.
anicca, impermanence. Thank you. Yeah. And we also had some time at the beach there, which sounds a little funny, but like taking the practice on the road. It was on the road in various situations, and then our final sort of arahant visit, if you will, or master teacher Kruba Ajahn visit was with Ajahn Biak near Bangkok, and it's a forest monastery, but the city grew up around it, and so there's a real feeling of stillness when you come through the gate, but just outside of it there's a lot of activity. And there are beautiful halls, and Ajahn Biak, it's not very open now to the public. It's since the pandemic, I think more so, it's been mainly just used by the old regulars of the community, and we were allowed to come and practice. And we had a Q&A session. Another seasoned translator who Ayachitananda has had a lot of contact with, and for me somewhat, a woman named Yu, and she also is a renunciant, shaved head, and she's been around Ajahn Biak's place for such a long time. She knows well how to relay what he's saying. And I don't know if anyone who was there would like to share what you thought was, maybe a highlight or something you really were struck by in any of these visits. I know Ajahn Biak, he's able to really see into a person. It's quite beautiful. This kind of thing has never felt invasive from someone like that to me. It's always has so much kindness and compassion with it that it's actually inspiring. He has a way of asking questions that I think gives him a chance to tune in, but also really draws a person out in terms of what's going on for them. And I really get the sense that getting a person to express what's happening in a certain way really brings their whole experience much more into clarity and kind of an opportunity to really see what to do next, I would say. So that's my synopsis. And I had noticed what was happening on our WhatsApp. The pilgrimage WhatsApp group is still quite active. A number of people still sharing Dhamma with each other and discussing things. And one topic that came up, which I think is really relevant, as I said, to Saket's sharing earlier, and also maybe other questions that people have, is around, like the questions of, how does merit get shared, or, what's the benefit of kind of the chanting and the blessings, and how does that work? And then another kind of related question is like, how does it relate to karma, making karma? And so there's been this discussion on the WhatsApp group, and then we had some discussion at the monastery too the last couple of days about this. And to put it in kind of maybe a simple form, when we, I'll say that, like it was mentioned, we have people's names in this book, people we want to share, dedicate offerings to. And one of the things that came up in our discussion was when we put this concept into English, sometimes it's described as sharing blessings or sharing merit. And that the word sharing kind of might sound like, okay, I have this abundance and I'm going to give some of it away. And that's not what happens when we share merit. So another way that it's translated to make this kind of offering or on behalf of someone else is a dedication of merit. Excuse me, which might be more clear. So I have a friend right now who's really suffering from shingles. So if anybody here has had shingles, or someone that this is a very painful illness. And in her case, it's the kind of virus that attacks the nerves in the face and affects the auditory nerve sometimes, or maybe even the optic nerve. And she's now having paralysis in her face. And as is often the case with this, she can't control her eye closing or blinking. She has to tape her eyes shut at night. It's very painful, and sometimes it can result in hearing loss or maybe even blindness. And so she's going through this right now. And so she asked me to share blessings and prayers. And so the way we do this in Buddhism, in Theravadan Buddhism at least, is that we'll dedicate our Dhamma practice and our good efforts, and chant, and maybe have a conversation with the devas, and really from the heart send wishes for comfort and healing. Or more the case, generally what I do is I wish for whatever is going to help someone awaken, because we don't really know what that is. But there is, and so, like, how does this work? And then we experienced quite a lot of this kind of thing when we were at Ajahn Gunha's monastery. We were doing a lot of funeral chanting for the person who had died, and her body was brought to the monastery. Sharing the merit of our practice in various ways. Ajahn Gunha would bless us by bonking us on the head with his long stick, and really wishing for us happiness and well-being. And it's like, how does this work? Well, one of the things that we kind of can grow sensitive to is the feeling that gets created, or the field that gets created through good action, keeping good moral virtue. You can feel it sometimes when you enter a place. And I've probably told this story. I know I've told it recently, and if you've heard it before, forgive me, or just let it sink in more. I don't know. But when I was visiting Bodh Gaya with some monks, we happened to go to a Thai monastery nearby, and it just felt so different from everything else. It had such an open, pure feeling about it. And I said this to the senior monk who was there, and to the person who was traveling with us, and I said, just wow, it's just so different here from like being in the village, being in the city, or in among all the different kinds of activities that are happening in the area. And I said, what is it? It's like, it's so clean feeling, so clear, so open, so safe. And he said, it's the sila. You're feeling the moral virtue that's practiced in this place. And then I think he quoted the sutta scripture that said, the scent of the flower travels in the direction of the wind, but the scent of moral virtue, of sila, goes in all directions. And it's just like, yeah, this is. And you probably noticed at some point, whether it's going into a cathedral or a temple or a monastery, or spending time in monasteries, even if there's no Dhamma talk, even if you're not there for like the meditation, you still might feel this amazing uplift. And it's like human beings have this ability to, through their practice, develop this field of positive energy, spiritual uplift. And through our intentions, we can actually, affect others across the planet. It doesn't, time and space really don't seem to have much relationship to this. But actually that sharing of, or dedication of merit, has a power behind it. So I don't, Saket shared earlier before we started the recording about asking for chanting for his mom and then seeing her improve. And it's like, or making an offering with that intention to share that with her, or to thinking of her and seeing her improve again, and the point is not so much like, oh, may this person not be ill anymore, because we never, that's a normal thing that happens to all of us. We all have illness. We're all going to decay. The body's going to decay. But it's more about how do we share goodness in a way that is sustaining and supporting of others as well as of ourselves. And that dedication of merit gives us the more truthful representation, I think, that when we do this, we don't lose anything. It's not like we're giving up something that we own to give to someone else. It's like we're causing the unfolding of more beauty, more peace, more generosity, more kindness, and more good health, in a sense. Even though, like I said, the body's destined to deteriorate and decay. But where is the health really? It's in the heart, it's the mind. That continues. And we want that to continue at, with the greatest amount of uplift and purity as possible. And so, like, even if we have a situation where there's some kind of conflict or resentment or difficulty in a relationship, and even if we have tried to smooth that out, resolve it, come to some kind of peace with it in ourselves, and we haven't been able to really make progress with that relationship or that person, just our changing our orientation towards it in a way that we are accepting the person, the conditioning that has caused this situation, and then just giving as much kindness, as much equanimity and goodness and purity into it as we can. It's like, regardless of what happens, regardless of what the other person is capable of understanding, doing, or saying, there's this added peace for ourselves and uplift and general increase in goodness, in the peace that's available. So it's like, okay, this is all kind of mysterious for some, for some people, and yet, when we start to become more sensitive to energy, we can start to feel this. And I think, there's, we can have a really good feeling. And of course, there's so much, especially in community, when people are really letting their own goodness, overflow, generosity and kindness, putting, really being the best version of ourselves with each other, that of course we feel that it's contagious, but we also, there's more to it than that. It comes through many levels. There's a story that I heard, and it was told as a true story. I don't know where I heard it, so I can't go back and verify it. But it was about this man who was from a village in Europe, and he worked on a ship, and the ship wrecked, and he was adrift on some, I think it was some, wreckage of the ship. And he was out there for days. And the people of his town and his family living there knew that this had happened, and he was lost, and he wasn't yet found. And they decided that every day at noon they would gather together and they would pray for him. And then he was, after days, many days of being adrift, he was found. And he was asked about his experience, and he said he just felt many times like just letting go. He was just like, it was so hard. But he said every day when the sun was high in the sky, he would feel this uplift, and he would keep going, like keep holding on. And it's like, wow, it's really pretty amazing. But I trust it. I believe it. I've seen many times how much what we do with our mind has a real impact and a real effect. And it is possible to talk to the heavenly beings, devas. They're around us. And there are master teachers. One of the ones I mentioned this morning, who among monastics talks quite a lot about the devas. Actually, more than one. We got some of the. This is off the record, but there's all these devas here in the monastery, and we all heard that on our trip too. And it's no wonder that there is so much belief in heavenly beings, because there is actual experience. And so just remember that you're not alone, no matter what. And it's the goodness in our practice. It's the wish to be morally upright and virtuous, to be generous, to be kind, to be compassionate, to let go of our own kind of ways in which we block our own appreciation of our own goodness and appreciation of others. And we can let that go, and we can really step into this reality of the power of generosity and virtue. And it kind of seems like magic, but it's really just the way things work. Thank you. So I don't know if anyone wants to complain about any of that or challenge it, or share some experience or questions. I'm not sure if I answered the questions that were coming up on the WhatsApp group, but whatever you'd like to say, feel free to raise your hand. Yes, Mayra?
I did this weekend retreat with Bhikkhu Bodhi over whatever that last long weekend was, and I really enjoyed how he dedicated the merit. And just to share what he did, it was quite beautiful. He first really instructed us to really connect with the feeling and really radiate. And then he guided the meditation of that for just a few minutes. And then he would do the chant for dedications of the merit, the one that Sarana likes.
With the Nagas, dragons.
So he would, and his instruction was, now I'm going to chant this and you all keep radiating. It was a very embodied way to practice with that, and I really enjoyed that style. So just to share that was fun. Yeah.
Is that recorded?
Maybe, because I have to look. I just got an email from that retreat. I'll look and see what they sent us and let you know.
Yeah, if there's a recording, then let us know and we can post that somewhere.
Yeah, it was quite a beautiful way. It was very yeah. that was just to share that in the service of this. And also, I'm curious about how Alex is.
Alex is doing great and he looks great. And, you know, you can just see how incredibly good that whole situation is for him. And, you know, he came to me after a retreat that he had been on. And he asked me to formally be his teacher, and he said that he knew that he needed to go become a monk because of something that happened in the retreat. And I feel like his ability to live happily the way he's living, I think something really did happen. And yeah, I'm very happy for him.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yeah. Yes, Ling.
Um, I want to express my gratitude for showing me the power of chanting this summer. Many of friends know my mom was dying, and I wrote email to Ayachitananda. She gave me amazing suggestion because I asked her, what can I do for my mother? And she directed me about chanting. At that time, I really have no idea. Actually, when I went back to Hong Kong waiting for my visa, I record IAS chanting on my phone because China can't get in the YouTube. And I brought back to China and I put them all together, the one I recommended. And I played to my mom and my dad for 20 days. And when I come back to Europe, I learned one chant, which is Buddha Nusati. And when I'm back to there again in September, I chant for my mom every day. And it was just really amazing experience. And my mom was peaceful every time I chant for her. But the energy I generate for myself, you know, the strength and the goodness, it was kind of unspeakable. And I was very taken surprise, but so grateful, you know. And the last day, last time when I leave Kunming, I also chanted for her. And that was in the hospital. And it was just so beautiful. And nurses, they come in and they're standing there, listen. I feel like you were there with me. And the chant I selected to record it on the phone. And my dad played every day for my mom. When the period I knew we saw that she was gone. So what you just talk about, you know, this goodness, you know, at that moment I didn't really think about it. And I wish her to leave. I just want to give that beautiful, you know, that kind of inspiration. And then it was just really a miracle. And then my mom's getting better little by little. But the miracle is, I feel like it should become a different person, like the COVID giving another life, because she's become really courageous, and she's willing to, you know, try to walk, you know, and she got another fall 2 weeks ago, but you know, she was there and, you know, do the laundry, helping my dad. I was feeling like so grateful, you know. And so the power of chanting, like today you talk about, I really so grateful. And I wanted to meditate at time, but didn't have time, but I had time to chant. So thankful, dear Ayas, for my life and for my parents as well.
Thank you, Ling. And one of the things that's been striking me so much about what's happening here at KBV, what's happened with the pilgrimage, is this power of community and, you know, sharing Dhamma with each other and sharing or dedicating marriage, sharing practice together. It's really, really beautiful. So beneficial. And it's kind of amazing that we're doing this across the world. Ling is so dedicated. She comes to Sutta study from Paris, it's the wee hours of the morning. And Adrian too. And it's really lovely to have this kind of Dhamma friendship and mutual support.
Hello, sister.
Hello, Sarada. How are
Very
you?
nice to doing well, sister. Thank you. Very nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
And very glad to hear about the trip and how successful it was for everyone. I also wanted to chime in and say thank you very much for everything you have done for myself and Dilara, my direct family, and also the chantings and the merits for my dad. As many of you may or may not know, he has this kind of tumor, and he was going blind basically because of the growth in the brain, and so he's going through kind of chemo and radiation and a whole array of treatment. But they're finding that the tumor is actually decreasing in size, and so he has, I would say, turned around from a downward spiral. And so I just want to also chime in and say thank you for everything you do for all of us, including everyone in the community and beyond. And so yeah, wishing you both the very best always.
Yeah, thank you. And Sarda, we're going to have a New Year's Day day long at the Hermitage.
I saw that, sister.
Yeah, Sarda has been over the years I think the main instigator behind New Year's Day celebrations. Excuse me. So I definitely wanted you to know it's happening.
Thank you, sister. Yes, and we'll be there.
Oh, yay.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's always been a Sri Lankan kind of a Buddhist tradition, and I think that it's just in my view, a way for us to start the year off with reminding ourselves kind of the practice and the values, and so that's just become a very helpful to reflect on, especially on the first day of the year and the first thing you try and do each year. So, thank you for having it.
Yeah. Thank you again, it's like everyone who's part of this community has a hand in making it better. So thank you. And it'll be also on Zoom, so we won't leave anyone out. You can join in from the Hermitage. Yeah. If we don't have any other comments or questions, maybe we should meditate for a few minutes together. And then we'll do some chanting. Seems appropriate. So just taking some time to collect our focus and our settling our mind. Settling the body. I mean, the first step when we meditate is really to see how the body is feeling and sit in a posture that is comfortable. Noticing any areas of tension. And inviting those areas to relax. Ajahn Gana talks about breathing in sabai, breathing out sabai. So it says relax, breathing in, relaxing, breathing out, relaxing, breathing in happily, breathing out happily. At ease, being at ease. And then Ajahn Brahm talks about relax to the max, really letting the whole system unwind, calm down, get stable and peaceful. And then when the body becomes tranquil, then we also invite invite the mind to become tranquil. Since this is a relatively short meditation, let the mind become as settled as we can, and then we can bring in these thoughts of goodwill, loving kindness, and the people in our life, the people that we know, the people we don't even know, but maybe we hear about their struggles, their suffering, their challenges. And we start to bring them into the heart, knowing that this is the nature of this life. Uh, these problems come up again and again, these challenges, but that we can support one another, even though we don't know them personally. We can bring the benefits of our own good actions, of our own kindness and generosity to the forefront to actually touch them. Support them. You know, when we put our attention on our own goodness, then it lifts us up and we can lift up others. And then, of course, that doesn't mean the danger or the difficulty comes to an end, but What really matters is the state of the mind. And we can wish this goodness and clarity, moral virtue and wisdom for everyone, even those who are engaged in very unskillful actions, who have a very difficult karma, difficult conditioning. We can wish for their freedom and happiness. And when we give, whether it's this kind of mental action or whether it's a physical act of generosity or effort, when we dedicate merit, the Buddha says it's never wasted. Even if the other person can't really receive it because they're in such difficult circumstances, that it's never wasted. It uplifts the person who gives. And we never know how much it can support and help others. And we can also reflect upon how this isn't something that comes from a self, that it doesn't go to another self. It's really empty in that beautiful way that, there's cause and there's effect. And this is a way to bring the causes and conditions forward for really good results. Not from a place of, I want a certain thing to happen, but a place of really opening up to goodness and generosity. So we're going to find some chanting for us. Let's do the sharing of blessings and aspirations first, and then the one that the Buddha used. Yeah. So we're going to share the screen with the words in English. Of course, these also are recorded in Pali. In case you want to look at that, I think they're all on our YouTube channel. Would you mind reading?
Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest devas and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless through the goodness that arises from my practice. And through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled.
And then we're going to do this one that Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi likes. This is called the sharing of merit. You might call it the dedication of merit. So bring to mind anyone you want to share this with. And you can see what the English says, but we're going to do it in Pali.
Kakasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahedika Punyang Tang Anumoditva Chiram Rakam Sanam Kakasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahedika Punyang Tang Anumoditva Chiram Rakantu Desanam Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahedika Punyang Tang Anumoditva Chiram Rakantu Namparang Etavata cha amehi sabatang punya sampadang sabe deva anumodantu sabe sampati siddhya etavata cha amehi sabatang punya sampadang Sabe Buddha Anumodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya Etavata Cha Amehi Sambatang Punya Sampadang Sabe Sata Anumodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya Avagupadaya avicitato etantare satakayupapana rupiya rupicha asanya sanyuno dukkha pamuchantu pusantu niputing Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
And we got very used to saying sadhu at Ajahn Dhammas. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful week. And we've decided to start doing day-longs on Saturdays, on the last Saturday of the month, every month next year, here at the Meditation Center. And it's quite likely that the other Saturdays we'll just do Zoom from the Hermitage. So it'll be a little less coming and going into town, which we kind of need a little less of that. But day-longs are really nice because people can come from a little further away in person, and it's worthwhile. And we're going to do, I think, a fair bit more meditation practice, maybe one Dhamma talk and one Q&A session, but most of it just meditating together. So that's our plan for 2024. Good. We got the blessings from the locals here, so this is good. And
Yeah, and if you want to come out to the Hermitage on Saturday instead, sometimes instead of here, that's okay too. So you don't have to feel like you can't come.
you can
It's
come
just-
to the Hermitage.
You can come here.
It's getting better and better.
The day-long, the New Year's day-long will be at the Hermitage, but the day-longs on the last Saturday of the month will be here on Saturdays.
So maybe you can carpool with someone out to the Hermitage who's coming from here on New Year's if you don't have plans. All right.
Yeah.
It keeps the New Year's Eve partying to a minimum because people want to like get up in the morning and go practice. Okay, everybody, thank you. Thank you for your attention.